Oui, bonjour. UFC Paris. Was that good French?
Yeah, I could have used a little bit more accent, a little more flair. If you're gonna do it,
Are you gonna do it? Let me hear it.
No, you're the one who suggested it. I'm not your piano bar.
How do you say disappointed in French? Do you know?
Jalen Hurts.
Oh, this guy Jalen Hurts, funny. Anyways, yeah, UFC Paris early leans got the guy Brendan Tobin and myself, Jake Noecker. I don't know. It's a weird card, man. It's like I like the co-main and the main event, but the rest of it's like feels like every fight's a curtain jerker, which I'm cool with, but
Pretty
it's weird.
It's pretty well. This is right up your alley. You like getting thick in the weeds with the unknowns. But yeah, no, they've kind of been doing this though. Like it usually, the non pay-per-views, they've been spreading pretty thin lately. Now this one's different because it's going to be in front of a crowd.
Yeah.
So, but they got gone. Like that's I'm sure the big draw there for everybody. And then they got a pretty decent co-main, but yeah, the rest of it's a little bit thinsky.
And like 3 French fighters dropped out too, so whatever. But I think it's the first card in Paris though, which is kind of cool. So it should be
loud.
Just
legalized it.
Yeah,
that's cool.
A little bit behind there, but I'm down. So yeah, let's talk early leans, best bets that we think are going to happen. I'll start with, I think all these are main cards, but it doesn't feel like they're all main card fights. I'm going to start with my boy Nathaniel Wood, who fought a couple months ago at UFC London. He's going up against everybody's favorite, who I love too, Charles Air Jourdain. Nathaniel Wood right now is a plus 118 underdog. Jourdain's like a minus 150. I like the underdog here. This is Nathaniel Wood's second fight at featherweight. He debuted against Charles Rosa at UFC London. Looked great, crisp striking as always. He's got great wrestling. I just think he's very technical, very fierce behind his precision. Like he has a lot of power in there. Meanwhile, Jourdain, very flashy, exciting fighter when he gets it done, but I think he waits too long, and I think he relies on the flair, the flashiness. So I like the dog here.
Yeah, I mean, like we saw that the last time around is fight with Burgos, right? Like that he's gonna try and kind of throw the kitchen sink at you. Now Burgos is off to PFL. That's weird.
Sad.
So strange. Why is he gone?
Dude, Dana was pissed too.
I know. How does that happen? I thought they usually got everybody under lock and key. That's such a strange thing.
Yeah.
But no, I think that's good value at him for this one. If you're getting Wood at a dog, he's as solid as they come. Coming off a W as well. I'm with it, man.
I think the line's going to close too, so hop on it early. But yeah, I love betting against Charles Jourdain as much as I love him. I love betting against him because he's not active enough, and judges hate that. So we're going to capitalize. Moving on here to another what seems like a curtain jerker, but I think it's the co-main event. Roman Kopylov going up against Alessio Di Chirico. I don't know. I know the guy. I don't know his last name. Chirico. That's Italian. Oh, he is Italian. He's not French.
Italian. The Chirico.
Alessio Di Chirico. Well, we're not betting on him. We're betting on Roman Kopylov, who's coming in at minus 106 underdog right now. Similarly, for why I'm betting against Jourdain, Alessio's not very active. He has a lot of power, not a lot of speed, not a lot of volume. Kopylov, he hasn't won in the UFC yet, but he's got power and he throws a lot. And we've seen him go the difference against a guy, Albert Duraev, who wrestled him, threw everything at him. So we know he can survive. We know he can survive on the mat. I think Alessio's chin, I don't know, man. His last fight, brutally knocked out in the first round against Joaquin Buckley. When a guy is that big, that tall, fights with his chin that open, coming off a knockout, who doesn't throw like Alessio doesn't, got to bet against him. I think Kopylov's getting his first UFC dub.
So even though you look at a guy like Alessio having like his strength of schedule and the guys that he's fought, he's just the more seasoned guy. You're confident that Kopylov is, got that kind of bugaboo of UFC jitters behind him and can get it done this time around, because some of the wins that Alessio does have, you're like, okay, well, he's got the experience, even though the record has been very dicey lately.
He's the vet. He's the older fighter. I always like betting on the younger fighter. So that's a thing here too. But no, you're right. I mean, the experience is there. He has faced top talent while Kopylov has not. But, I think age has a clock. And I think we just saw Alessio get knocked out when he probably shouldn't have. So yeah, I'm confident enough to throw a little bit of money on the underdog. I'm not going heavy, but I'm confident enough. I just hope it's a banger because we need some bangers out of these lesser name fights.
Sometimes those will sneak up on you, though. Those will be a little bit more entertaining. You don't expect it, and then they got something for you.
I expect a great card. I feel like UFC London, UFC Paris, they just like they have something about them where those fans don't get to see it a lot. They go crazy, and the fighters feel the energy.
Yeah, you would feel like this is going to be like a nutty atmosphere, especially if it's the first one.
Yeah, man. I don't know what's gonna happen. I'm excited. Daytime card, not hyped for that, but whatever.
Yeah, that's tough.
Yeah. So now talking my parlay of the night, just because I like this parlay a lot. Cyril Gahn minus 620. Can't bet that single. You throw him in a parlay with Nasrat Hakparast minus 200. That comes out to a minus 135 right now. I love that kind of line. Love that minus 120 to minus 160 range. So that's my kind of bet. I know you like the Tai Tuivasa plus 400 play. I think you're a crazy man. I think Cyril Gahn goes in there and mauls him like a bear. I don't know. Why do you like Tai here?
Well, first of all, I think it's a fun bet. I think it's fun to bet on Tai. Like, and I'm getting him at plus 400. So that's doubly fun. I mean, I get it. Like we've had, Manpreet on the show, and you guys were looking at me like I had four heads when I said it.
Yeah.
And looking at Ty's resume, like looking just deeper into it, like he has not taken on anybody with like the well-rounded skill set, especially in his win streak that Gahn has had. Sure. You got some Greg Hardys in there, some Hunsuckers. Like it's not the most dazzling resume. But that being said, I do think that Cyril Gahn, that aura of invincibility, because I thought everybody kind of thought he was going to do the same thing to Francis. Like they thought that he was going to wipe the floor with Francis, too well-rounded, too quick, too technical. And I just thought that we saw a guy who was exposed a little bit. Now, I get it. Ty's not the physical freak maybe that Francis is, where he's just going to like, if he does get taken on the ground, he's probably going to be like a fish out of water and not have much to do there.
Right.
But I think he's tough in these situations. Like we've seen him in those things where you tie him up against the cage and he'll throw some elbows. He'll be good in those short exchanges. And I think that is a place where Gahn can get in trouble because he's usually best at a distance. So I don't know. Like I think for me, just if I could just rest my head on my pillow, one, you and I both disagree on this. You go with heart. What is it called? Heart insurance. Is that what you do?
Yes, sir. Heart insurance.
I don't like doing that. See, the way I like going about it, sometimes I like not only celebrating the guys that I like, but I like betting money on them as well. Because then I'm doubly happy. Because if I'm going to be sad, I'm going to be sad. I could just deal with it. I'm a grown up. So I would just like the idea of going into this with Tai, who's one of my favorite fighters of the promotion. If you don't like Tai Tuivasa, I don't know what's wrong with you. And the idea that he goes into that building and over 5 rounds somewhere just comes up with something. It probably would have to be quick. Like he's probably got 1 or 2 rounds to do it, but we know that he's as explosive as they come. And if he does this, the dude's on his way probably to a title shot later next year. I mean, obviously it's a little bit of a wacky division because, John's coming back and France and all that, but even still, like his golden ticket's going to be punched if he wins this. And I don't know. It excites me, the idea of him getting it, but I understand. Like I know why everybody's looking at me the way that they do. But you get him at plus 400. Hell, he's probably not going to win a decision. So why don't you just go KO? It's going to be plus 600.
Yep.
If he's going to finish it. But I don't know. It's to me. It's a very, very. It's a more entertaining fight than I think it's given credit for.
It's a fun bet. It's a fun fight. I mean, I would love if Tai wins and the Nelk boys hop there and they all do shoeies in freaking Paris. Like that would be awesome. And yeah, like you said, the plus 600 knockout, I wouldn't play Tai single. I just throw the extra 200 on there, get on my knockout. That's how he's going to win.
Yeah.
Oppositely, Cyril Gahn's like a minus 150 inside the distance. I like that too. But yeah, I don't disagree with you. It's a fun fight. It's a fun bet. And yeah, if anybody's going to knock out Cyril Gahn, it's going to be Tai Tuivasa. But Cyril Gahn.
I get it. Like, look, when the fight happened, I hated it. I wanted them to go Blades versus Gahn.
Right.
And Aspinall and Tai Tuivasa kind of called each other out. I don't understand really why they went this route. It's kind of weird to me.
Yeah.
Because I get the logic. I get why everybody is saying what they are when in regards to this fight, because Cyril Gahn is very good. Just because he lost to Francis doesn't mean he's a fraud. I just think he's not invincible, which is kind of what everybody was making him up to be. Like he was like the heavyweight George St. Pierre. And I think we got to calm down a little bit on that.
I think another part of the reason I'm so confident betting him minus 620 in a parlay here, And a part of the reason this matchup was made in the first place is because I think the UFC wants to give Cyril Gane a big win in France. And I think the matchmakers know this is a likely path compared to like Curtis Blades, Tom Aspinall. That's a very hard fight. I'm not saying Tai Tuivasa is not a hard fight, but stylistically, this is Gane, man.
He's going to be the new Derek Lewis. Like it feels very much like Ty's on that way. Like he's going to be the guy that I think will always be in contention. Is he ever going to be good enough to be the champion? That remains to be seen. But I think that if you look at these guys who are good everywhere, everyone's going to look at Ty and say he's just got a stylistic and a skill set disadvantage because he's just not as good everywhere.
Right.
Thus, you need to be more dangerous with your hands than anybody else, which he's looked. I mean, like he has looked that kind of special when it comes to just needing the knockout and getting that kind of finish, and especially after like starting off hot, facing adversity. Now he's back on a win streak again. But I get it. I think I want to have some fun, man. Like I think it's a disrespectful line, if I may. It's not that he's not the worthy underdog. It's not like they don't have it wrong. Gane should be a favorite, but should he be that big a favorite?
It's MMA. I don't think anybody should be more than like a minus 300 favorite because all it takes is this. And when you're tied to Tuivasa, you got a lot of this. But I just before I talk about the other part of this parlay with Nasrat, I do want to say shout out to my boy Donnie Rocket because he's the one that pointed this out to me. Not that it's like a crazy fact; it's pretty obvious, but it's just the level of experience between these two guys is really something to talk about. Because Tai Tuivasa probably has more hype in the UFC than Cyril Gane. Like he's had more finishes, he's had more highlights, he's got the shoeies. Everybody loves this dude. Not to say people hate Cyril Gane, but Tai is a special kind of fighter.
Yeah.
But his level of competition, his biggest win's Derek Lewis at 38 years old. Before that, it was Augusto Sakai, and Greg Hardy, totally like you said. So Cyril Gane's been fighting, and Ganu, it's just very hard for me to actually put the money behind the I want Bam Bam to win this year. And I think it's smart matchmaking by the UFC because I think the French crowd is going to be very exciting. However, there's definitely something funky in the water right now in MMA with Mighty Mouse, with Leon Edwards, with everything else that's going down on the sport. If anything's going to happen, it's going to be this weekend and Ty's going to knock him out. But I hope that doesn't happen. I hope Cyril Gane fights how he should and gets it done.
Yeah, the better in you hopes doesn't happen. But as a fan, you'd have to admit,
I'd be cool with it.
The more fun thing to happen is Tai Tuivasa winning and then
I'd be cool
being very close to a championship. I mean, if we live in a world where Tai Tuivasa is the heavyweight champion of the world, that's a world I want to live in.
He's the perfect heavy, just a fat Australian guy who drinks a crap load of beer and knocks people out. It
would be like when Andy Ruiz won the championship. It's just perfect. Nobody saw this coming.
But wait till next fight, please, Bam Bam. So the other part of my parlay I just want to talk about quick is Nasrat Haqparast going up against John McDessie. Haqparast is on a 2-fight loss streak in the UFC against Dan Hooker and Bobby Green, right? Nasrat's fight IQ in both those fights was what lost him those fights. He didn't wrestle. He wanted to prove himself with his hands. And I mean, he didn't look horrible, but Nasrat's a wrestler who can wrestle people for 3-5 rounds, exhaust people, wear you down, ground and pound, and get decision victories, UDs. That's what he should do. And he admitted since those losses that that's what he should have done, and that's what he's going to do against McDessie. McDessie, we've seen struggle against wrestlers throughout his career. If McDessie has success, it's against people, particularly young fighters that try to strike with him, like Bahamondes. McDessie's going to throw a lot of kicks. We've seen Haqparast grab kicks, take you down, check kicks. I don't like this matchup for McDessie. I think Nasrat minus 200, perfect parlay piece. If it dips below minus 200, might even play it as a single.
Yeah, I mean, look, McDessie's definitely had a little bit more success, but he hasn't been very active. It has not been a ton of fights for him either. So, Nasrat's been in there a little bit more. There's no shame in losing to guys like Bobby Green and Dan Hooker. Those are very, very, very good fighters.
Yeah. There's also a 10-year age difference here. Nasrat's 27, McDessie's 37. At a 10-year age difference, 77% of the younger fighters win. This is a fight. If you even forget about the skill set, I just think you have to bet on the statistic side of it. 10 years younger, 4-inch reach advantage, wrestling versus kicks. Love the statistical value in Nasrat here. So I think he's a good little accessory piece with Gane. Unless if Tuivasa shuts us up.
You definitely need an accessory piece with Gane. If Gane is that kind of guy, I honestly think that's crazy that you got to get him to bet down like that, because I just don't understand him being that big a favorite.
I don't think any heavyweight should be that big a favorite, because I think it's like 60% of
Yeah.
heavyweight fights end in the first round.
That's another thing that I find weird. Like if this was another weight class, okay, we could have the talk. I understand you have the guy who's well-rounded versus the banger, but it's heavyweight. I don't know.
Right. So, I mean, if you're hesitant of throwing a minus 620 in a parlay with Nasrat, another good piece, I think, is the over 2.5 and Vettori and Whitaker. That's a minus 280. I think that's hitting easy. So like minus 280, minus 200, that's like a plus 100 something parlay. Anyways, those are my picks, but I have to ask you about the co-main event because I'm so torn on it. Okay. Robert Whitaker coming in at a minus 245 favorite against Marvin Vettori, plus 185. Don't understand the line. I have a lot of people I really trust and like bettors and analysts who are all over Whitaker. They're like, dude, shut up. Vettori's not winning this. I don't feel that way, man. I think Vettori is so durable and such like a butt-headed, boring, grinding fighter. I don't know if Whitaker's faced that in a long time, man. And I think at plus 185, it's tempting me, BT. Talk me out of it.
Well, I think it is a strange line because typically if you have guys who are this highly ranked, they do give a grappler an advantage. But I think that with Whitaker, I think a lot of people look at him similarly to almost like the Colby Covington of the middleweight division. That
sure, if
it wasn't for Israel Adesanya, this guy would be the reigning champ. He's not a bum with his takedown defense. Like he is a very good, well-rounded fighter. And I think that if you're talking about the striking, like I think it's also a night and day thing as far as like, how is he going to get to Robert Whitaker with his, his kicks, his movement. Now, I think one of the things that was disappointing to see the last time around against Izzy was like, he kind of got turned into like this, this one-dimensional fighter. That's just, I think, speaks to kind of the brilliance of Stylebender. No matter the criticism he takes of, being a boring fighter, he's just hard to figure out. But I do think you're right. Like I'm looking at like his guys that he's taken on recently, Jack Hermanson, probably the best, grappler that he's taking on, taken on as a
grappler either.
No, he's not a bad grappler, but everybody knows that Paolo wants to be in there and bang.
Sure,
that's what he's going in there for. So,
yeah.
I think that's something that you look at as far as Vettori.
Vettori's only 2 losses in the UFC are also to Adesanya.
To Adesanya, yeah,
man.
I don't know, man. I think that for me, like you're right. It's probably just, I think Vettori is kind of boring. I think that he's a lot of talk for not being that thrilling and not having that much to excite me for. And then with Rob, I think that, we've definitely seen the peak. He's not better than Izzy, but he's dynamic. He is fun. He's going to throw a lot of things, I think, at Vettori. And I just think that he is such a good fighter with movement, with being able to know how to go and get to the distance on these certain fights. He's very experienced with main events and things like that too. I don't know. I just think that overall, this one to me is a little bit more appropriate with the line. Like it's not like he's a minus 600 like a Gon is. I just think he's just better all around than Vettori, and I think that we've seen with Vettori, like everybody would have said that's the kind of the same way against Stylebender, like, oh, just go take him down. He's going to be able to do it. And, he kind of got picked apart and he got picked apart multiple times. So we've seen him have trouble against these versatile strikers who are light on their feet, who are tough to take down. And when there's that big a gap in the striking, I don't know. If you're gonna go with him, I get it. He's not a bum, and so you're looking at it and you're saying, this guy's one of the best in the world. I think that I think I'm getting good value there, but I just think that with me, I just look at Rob and I say, it's the best of this weight class for a guy who may be the best guy on the planet in Stylebender. That's a pretty good place. It's a pretty rotten place to be if you're Robert Whitaker, but if you're talking about just absolute skill sets against the rest of the roster, it's a pretty good place to be because it just means that a lot of people aren't better than you. We see this situation is becoming really common with a lot of these dominant reigning champions, is that, for the Max Holloways, the Colby Covingtons, the Rob Whitakers of the world, they need the king to be dethroned to get their shine again, to get their shot again.
The Jorge Masvidals.
No, not Jorge. Like, listen. And by the way, I just want to be sure, like, nobody's been mentioning Jorge Masvidal on the show more than Sean. I am not guilty of this.
Oh, I'm just playing, man. I'm not a fan of the guy. That's all. He knocked out my childhood hero in 5 seconds.
Really? Ben Askren's your childhood hero?
Yeah, man. I told you this. Like, Ben Askren, like, I wrestled growing up. You know, he went to a wrestling camp with us. Like, watched him throughout college, like on the Olympics and stuff.
I can understand having Team Petty on that then.
Yeah, that was sad. It was cool, but it was sad. But I don't know. Yeah, the Rob Whittaker thing. I'm sure.
What is it about Vettori that you like? Like, why? So the other end of it, like, why do you like him as opposed to Rob?
So this is my confusion. This is why I haven't bid on this bet yet, because I don't know if I like him. I don't know if I like him or the line. I love Vettori's durability, his pace, and his wrestling. Love that. But like you said, it's Rob Whittaker. Like, we've seen Vettori do this to a lot of people in the middleweight division, but he couldn't do it to Izzy. And the only other person close to as good as Izzy is Rob. So I think this fight, more so than anything, is like it's a big statement for the middleweight division. And I think I have a theory here. Okay, this is me being crazy, but this also goes into me thinking Vettori loses, because Rob today, I don't know if you saw this, but he said he's interested in a 205 fight in the future.
Pat Rob.
If Rob wins, why would he want that? You know what I mean? I'm not saying Rob is doubting himself. I'm not saying Rob knows he's going to lose, but I almost think it's some like subconscious insurance for himself. You know, I think that's why I like Vettori. I don't think Rob should be a -250 favorite here. I think the line's a little iffy. I know you like the line. I'm going to watch the line, because if Vettori goes up to like a +190, +195, 200, I'm hitting it.
Tough division for him too. Like, that's such a big leap for, you know, we heard this a little bit with Kamaru, where he was talking about the same thing. Like, he was going to leap 2 weight classes. I mean, I feel like if you're Rob Whittaker, it's kind of a tough division to go down right now to welterweight, because it's just such a cluster bleed with Kamaru losing. But if you were, you know, let's say Kamaru gets his belt back, I feel like that makes a lot more sense for him to almost do a Jose Aldo and go down than it does. That it does for him to leap up and take on those giants. It's not big enough. No, I think
he's not long enough.
And he's not like this deadly one punch power type of guy. He's the guy who's accumulating. So now you're going in there against these trees, and you gotta make sure you don't get buzzed with anything. So that is a little bit weird that he's talking about that move up. Now, when we've had him on the show before, boy likes to eat. He has said he's kind of sneaky Patty Pimblett. Like, he likes to get fat. And so I get it. Like, he doesn't want to make the weight cut anymore, but that is weird, you know, to say that I'm looking ahead, but he also knows the writing on the wall. Like, he wants to be champion of the world, and that's not going to happen with Stylebender up top. And he probably thinks like Izzy's not going to lose to Pereira.
Hope not, because I got some money on Izzy too. But yeah, I don't know. Just a lot of question marks behind that fight. I'm really excited for that one. I think that's probably my most anticipated of the night, just because of the consequences it has for the middleweight division and Rob's future, it seems. But yeah, man, great card, little sleeper card. It's going to have a lot of attention. First card in Paris, but hopefully a lot of these lesser names get some new buzz and attention. So
yeah, and that's a good point too about like with Rob, like he's stepped away before. You never know with like it could literally like he's one of those guys. It could feel very much like okay, he's just done if he doesn't win.
I hope not, man, because I love Rob Whittaker. But yeah, Izzy's gonna Izzy. So to recap my picks, BT doesn't agree with everything this week, but we're kind of on the same page. Nathaniel Wood plus 118, looking to cash against Charles Jourdain. Roman Kopylov, underdog. FanDuel right now he's a minus 106. I saw him on DraftKings like a plus 102. I'll hit that at this point. My parlay of the night's probably going to be Gane and Hasparat at a minus 135. If you don't like Gane at the minus 620, just parlay Nasrat with the over 2.5 in the Vettori Whittaker fight. I think that hits. But that's all I got, man. I'm looking at Vettori, but I'm not hitting anything yet. Early leans, of course, nothing set in stone. But UFC Paris, man, pretty excited.